afternoon. The vast majority of those cities and regions which have already signed the declaration are with us. Almost all of the support partners for the declaration are also here. And it's also very pleasing to see a number of other cities and regions who are interested in potentially signing the declaration in the near future with us today as well. So this is really, really encouraging to see. This is the first of what's planned as a quarterly series of webinars on the topic of circular economy in cities and regions. And one of the purposes of the session today will be to identify what might be interesting topics for future webinars within this series. And our next one is likely to take place early next year. Beyond this, what we're also hoping the session today will be is inspiring. We have, as you've likely all seen in the agenda that was circulated, a series of what are hopefully really excellent good practice presentations from certain cities within who have already signed the declaration, as well as an update on the Urban Agenda Partnership on Circular Economy coming from the city of Oslo. And I think what these should stress, they should help to underline, is the extent of the expertise within the cities which have signed this declaration already. And I hope those will prove very interesting examples for all of you to look at. The final purpose of the webinar that we have today is also to give an introduction to the Circular Cities Declaration for those cities and regions who are considering whether they wish to sign it as well and join our community here. We'll have an introduction to the declaration early on, but there will also be a session later on for anybody to ask any additional questions they have related to this. So here's a quick look at the agenda we have for the session this afternoon. We will have firstly an introductory session, as just mentioned. Beyond introducing the declaration, we will also give the support partners of the declaration the opportunity to introduce themselves. And if we have time here, we will also have some first initial questions from those participants as well about the declaration. We will then move on to have good practice presentations from 4 different city administrations. So from Prato, from Ljubljana, from Umeå, and from Copenhagen as well. Before the presentation mentioned from Håkan Sandven Jentoft from the city of Oslo on the Urban Agenda Partnership on Circular Economy, which I think many of you are aware of. And the final session will then be splitting up into discussion groups, hopefully 5 to 10 people per discussion group, where all of you will have the opportunity to present what you consider to be the key challenges for cities within the circular transition and topics that you might be interested in having in future webinars. For those who have not yet signed, there will also be the opportunity there to have a specific discussion group for interested signatories as well. Okay, if you could pass on to the next slide, John. All right, before we kick off in earnest, there are a few housekeeping rules which I would like to raise. Firstly, what would be extremely helpful for us is if you would each change your name. Now, this will help us later on in the session where we are trying to allocate people to different groups. What we would like is for all of those who have not yet signed the declaration to add an N at the beginning of their name. You can see the example on the right-hand side there, N-Tom Smith from the region of X. For all of those who are already signatories of the declaration, please add an S at the beginning of your name. Finally, if you are a support partner for the declaration, please add SP. And for those of you who are not aware how to do this, the first thing is to click on the participants button at the bottom of the screen. Then hover over your name and you should be given the option of more. If you click on more, you will have the option of renaming yourselves. So if each of you could do that and indicate whether you are a signatory, a non-signatory, or a support partner, that would be very helpful for us. A few other points to mention. The webinar is being recorded and the slides will be shared from this for all the participants at the end of the session. Please keep your microphones muted. You can raise your hand if you want to be, if you want to have the opportunity to speak. But the best way to do this is to actually place any questions you have, any comments in the chat function, which I think you're all probably familiar with. The chat button is at the bottom of the screen. We have quite a tight schedule today, so please put your questions in there. And if we have the opportunity to raise those during the session, I will take them from there. If you have any technical problems or any questions, then Jon is with us to help out with those. So you can either write to the hosts directly in the chat, or you can send an email to Jon. He'll be checking his emails regularly as well. Okay, very good. Before we start off with an introductory presentation, however, to the Circular Cities Declaration, I would like to pass quickly across to my director, Mark Hidson from ICLAI, who would like to say a few words. So, Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Simon. Yeah, well, welcome to everyone, and thank you for taking the time to participate in this webinar. It's good to see so many people here. Now, the circular economy, I believe, currently is one of the most important models or processes at the moment for addressing sustainability. I've heard the word transition bandied around quite a lot at the moment in the work that ICLAI is doing, but without sort of any meaning. And I think the circular economy model is the one that sort of truly looks at transition properly. And I think developing circular economy policies and programs at the local level requires strong political support. It also requires intersectorial partnerships, community collaboration, and local and regional and European level input, I think. And cities that are signed up to this Circular Cities Declaration are really demonstrating leadership and commitment. And this is something we really want to get across in our work at ICLAI and through the partners. I mean, whilst the focus on the Circular Cities Declaration is sharing good practice, it's an encouraging implementation. Part of the aim really was to set up this powerful group of cities within the European community. We want to feed in the perspective of cities, the needs, the challenges, for example, the support that's required for implementing a circular economy, and direct this to the European policy developments. And there are a number at the moment that are happening and being shaped that are quite important, where the circular economy has to come in. The European Green Deal, for example, if you're aware of that, is going to be very important for the work of cities over the coming years. And we know about the Circular Economy Declaration, the Circular Economy Action Plan already. There's also the bioeconomy strategy, the coal transition strategy, the finance strategy, Green Cities Accord. I could go on. And of course, there's also the international elements, the Sustainable Development Goals and Paris Agreement. So we really want to try and use this group and feed into these processes where ICLAI's and the partners of the Circular Cities Declaration are very much closely involved. We want to pass on, for example, key messages about aligning circular economy actions with the existing frameworks, encouraging about taking a decentralized approach, not just a top-down approach to implement a true circular economy. And of course, we want to look at citizens' engagement, assess artificial intelligence, for example, what digitalization means for cities in a circular economy. So these are key aspects that we want to try and draw upon. And in short, whilst we're looking at implementing a circular economy and cities are doing this on the ground, we can also demonstrate leadership and commitment at the European level and become an active part of shaping the key policies that cities have to deliver. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks very much, Mark. Thanks for giving us the strategic context of what we're trying to do here. And it really is, once again, a great starting point to have such an interesting and big group of cities and partners with us here today. Before I pass on to Caitlin to give a more detailed introduction, I would also like to share that we do have some new signatories for the declaration since the launch. So we have 4 new signatories since then. Mikkeli in Finland, and then 3 new signatories from Portugal, Albergaria Avella, Braga and Melgaço as well. And hopefully within the next few days, there are a number of cities and regions which are in the final processes of signing the declaration, including the city of Milan, the capital region of Denmark, Est Ensemble Grand Paris, and hopefully Valles Occidental as well, and hopefully a number of others as well. And of course, we'd be very happy if some of those others who are joining us today would like to add to that group in the coming weeks and months too. Okay, Caitlin, allow me to pass across to you, my colleague Caitlin Dietz, who will give us a bit of an introduction to the declaration, what we're trying to do with this and what the next steps are.
Thanks, Simon, and welcome everyone from my side. Next slide, please, Jon. Yes, so as said, we have 28 signatories that signed before the launch on the 1st of October. Here is a list, and we will get back to them in the next session. Next slide. So about how the declaration came into being, we really realized through our work at ICLEI with cities on circular economy projects that there is a growing interest in the topic, a lot of ambition, and we're seeing more and more strategies, citywide strategies, and integration of circular economy into sustainability strategies at the local and regional level. But we also saw a need for uniting a common vision of what a circular city or region looks like. And we see a great opportunity here, as mentioned by Mark, for a lot of learning through this exchange among those who sign. So based on this, we decided to go forward with an initiative such as the Circular Cities Declaration. And we see a real strength here in that declaring a commitment to a circular economy at the political level can secure a strong political will, which can serve to accelerate implementation on the ground of circular economy projects. And this is very necessary in a field such as circular economy, which depends so heavily on a systematic approach, integrating all parts of a value chain and involving many different actors. So how the declaration text itself came into being, it was co-developed by the support partners over the past several months in a very iterative and collaborative way. The support partners represent expert organizations in the field of circular economy in the EU and in the world. And we were really able to draw upon each strength. We have financing partners such as the EIB, research partners such as Acera, the research collaboration for circular economy in Europe, and more technical partners as well. And we involved cities and regions from the beginning in the development process to be sure that the declaration text would be fit for purpose. So Seville, Oslo, Amsterdam, Helsinki, Turku, London, Flanders, all took part in the creation of this declaration. And as it is meant for cities, we think that is very fitting. Next slide. Great. So next, as I said, we tried to come up with a common vision now that we had the stakeholder group of support partners together. And this is really to say, what are we moving towards? What is the objective of working towards the commitments of the declaration? So we came up with a definition of circular city, a vision in 4 parts, in 4 pillars. First is the collaboration between stakeholders. This is about convening and partnering the relative actors, such as the local government, citizens and civil society organizations, also businesses in the private sector, and of course the research community and their role in innovation. So after creating this integration and bringing together the partners into an ecosystem of circular economy at the local or regional level, there also needs to be an integration through the local government horizontally across departments in an application of circular economy. We are strong and adamant in saying that it should not be something that's dedicated only to waste management, but is something that's much broader and needs to be much broader if it is to have the far-reaching effects that we expect. The second pillar is for circular business models and a shift of behavior patterns. This is about the kind of economic models that can maintain and generate value, keeping things in use and maintaining a high value and high utility through innovative models such as servicization and sharing economy. And this is where we look at design and awareness also to change behavior around consumption, and in this way decouple the resource use from the economic activity. Third pillar is closing material loops. This is the what. This is the physical flows that we're talking about in urban metabolism. So eliminating waste and finding a value and a use for what we consider waste today. Now, all of this effort of the circular transition is going towards a goal of well-being socially, economically, and environmentally, of course. So the end goal, the fourth pillar, is reaching the Sustainable Development Goals, reaching the well-being in society, the social inclusion, and the environmental regenerated natural systems that we strive for. What can be done at local and regional level? There are 5 general areas of action that can be undertaken. And first and foremost is to set a vision, to give leadership and to set priorities, contextualized, but giving a clear strategy for all of these other actors to come together around. Second is engagement. This is about facilitating and connecting stakeholders and creating this ecosystem innovation. Third is using all of the hats that a city and our regional government has in terms of urban management, such as urban planning and zoning, their own public procurement, and the management and use of public assets and provision of public services. Fourth are things like economic incentives such as subsidies, grants, taxes, or creating innovation competitions that can provide seed funding. Fifth would be regulations. Regulation can enable a system to favor circular economy and should be done in cohesion and in collaboration with other levels of governance to align, for example, with the Green Deal at the EU level and with national waste legislation, for example. So these levers and areas of action for local and regional governments are really the inspiration for the commitments of the declaration. And here you can see the 10 commitments, which cover all of these aspects in an integrated and step-by-step way. So the action towards these commitments, we expect that from a city signatory, wherever they are in their circular transition when signing, action towards these commitments will always improve the circular outcomes at the local or regional level. Next, a short list of the benefits of signing. This has already been touched on by Mark and Simon, but the idea is to become part of this powerful and unified group of cities that can send a message at a higher level and across Europe of the importance of the circular economy, of the benefits of the circular economy, and raising the awareness and the visibility of that. It's also an opportunity, of course, through the website and through communications around the declaration to profile the cities and the work that they're doing on circular economy. We, by creating this community, also foresee a lot of bilateral and multilateral collaboration that can happen between the cities themselves, as well as together with the support partners and all of the kinds of implementation and expertise that is existing within this network. And the idea, again, is to demonstrate the commitment and the power of all of these cities in really making the circular economy into something practical and on the ground. It's been said time and time again, the importance and the key role that cities and regions play in actualizing this. And that's what we hope your commitment through signing the Circular Cities Declaration can demonstrate. For signatories, those of you who have already signed and gotten on board, many of you may already know we began with a Get to Know You call to get to know all of the actions that you have so far, as well as your challenges faced and your main interests for collaboration. And this also has to do with how we are profiling you already on the declaration website. There is also a shared contacts database for bilateral exchanges between cities as well as with the support partners. And you are attending today the first of what will be a quarterly webinar series focused on circular cities, the topics of which will be decided jointly. Finally, there will be newsletters that keep you up to date on the latest from the cities that have signed, as well as the wider European circular economy ecosystem. That can include opportunities for joining together on other funding opportunities, as well as staying in touch with the latest from policy at the EU level. As you know, with the declaration comes reporting. This is something that we will do on an annual basis, and it will be based on the commitments, but it will be rather light touch. It's not meant to be burdensome for you, but rather to understand what has happened towards these commitments in the year since signing, and in this way be able to highlight this work, and if you have any challenges, be able to provide support for facing those. Okay. I think this is all from me. Next slide. And back to you, Simon. Here's a map of all of the signatories we have so far, all 33.
Wonderful. Thanks, Caitlin. Yes, and this is a map that we are updating regularly as new signatories come in, and so hopefully this is going to be increasingly full as we go through the next weeks and months. Now, as mentioned, if anybody has any comments about or questions related to the declaration, there will be a session later in the webinar where you can ask those directly to Caitlin in a breakout session. But if you have got any points that you would like to raise, you can also put them in the chat now, and we'll see whether we have the opportunity to answer those directly. But what I would like to now do is pass across to our support partners. So as Caitlin has mentioned, this declaration would not have come into being without a very wide group of institutional support partners that we've had to help us within that process from a very wide variety of different types of backgrounds, different types of organizations, most of whom are with us here today. And I would like to very quickly give each of those an opportunity just to quickly say who they are, pass on their name and a quick word about the nature of the organization. So I think we should do this alphabetically, and that means right at the very top we have Circle Economy. So Blake, if you are with us, maybe you could say a quick few words.
Thanks, Simon, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Blake Robinson. I'm the cities lead at Circle Economy, and we've been working for the last 5 years or so with over 20 cities around the world, mainly in Europe, taking them on an innovation journey from understanding their data about their city's metabolism to the development of personalized strategies that help the city to take circularity to the next level. We help cities to prioritize and plan accordingly with action strategies. And we are currently collaborating with ICLEI, Metabolic and Ellen MacArthur Foundation, amongst others, on the development of a basic tool that helps cities with this process.
Great. Thanks very much, Blake. Circular Flanders, I think we have Elma with us, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Elmar Willems from Circular Flanders. We're a regional policy organization, but rather a public-private organization. We have commitment from several public and private partners from all over Flanders, from research institutes, industry sectors, societal partners, and so forth. We have a renewed commitment, a renewed engagement by different policy levels to promote the circular economy in Flanders. It has been just recently stated again that we will go full speed ahead for circular economy in Flanders. We have several topics of interest like circular procurement, circular built environment, circular city ports, circular cities, of course, and on eco-design, and all these issues and topics are very relevant for Flanders, and we would like to bring them in the European discussions on circular economy.
Great, thank you, Elma. CSCP, Christina, do we have you with us?
Yes, I am here, Simon. Thanks a lot.
Would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Cristina Fedato. I am from the CSCP, the Collaborating Center on Sustainable Consumption and Production. We are a German nonprofit organization based in Wuppertal, and we work in many different topics related to circular economy, business models, and also stakeholder engagement. That would be perhaps the main focus we could offer here. From the circular economy business models, we already worked in Horizon projects, developing concepts, developing partnerships, and also supporting policymakers on the topic. With stakeholder engagement, we have different experiences, and at city level at the moment, we work in 3 big Horizon projects that are related to closing loops of biowaste at city level, and also one on water protection. And we do the whole methodology of defining baselines and also bringing stakeholders together to implement new solutions. Other topics from the CSCP that could be also related here are sustainable procurement and also behavior change. From the stakeholder perspective, we also have specific knowledge and experience on citizens engagement as well. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Christina. So I'm gonna have to ask everyone to be a little bit quicker in making these presentations, unfortunately, as we do have time is not on our side this afternoon, I'm afraid. But in any case, let's move across to Acera, and this is represented here by Enea. Roberta, would you like to very quickly present yourself?
Hello to everybody, thank you. Yes, I'm Roberta De Carolis. Actually, I'm working in Enea, but here I'm representing Acera. Acera is a voluntary collaboration network between different European RTOs. Our aim is to strengthen and integrate the scientific knowledge and expertise in the field of circular economy. And of course, circular cities is one of the most important topics on this. Our members is Tecnalia, VTT, CA, Vito, that is the secretariat of this association, Wuppertal, IBL, Enea where I'm working, IETU, SINTEF, and TNO. This alliance has a steering committee, and we are here to support with our scientific knowledge this important initiative. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks very much, Roberta. The European Investment Bank, Jonas, I think you're with us.
Yes, I am. I'm hoping to get the video to start as well. So, very good to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity to meet all of you. I'm representing the European Investment Bank in Luxembourg. And we are the EU bank, we are the climate bank, but we have the ambition to be also the circular economy bank. We offer, of course, as a bank, financing of different kinds for different kind of projects and promoters, with a particular focus on circular economy. We can also offer advisory through different initiatives with focus on circular economy. And we have quite a lot of focus on knowledge sharing, awareness building. And if you visit our circular economy web page, you will find a couple of documents with focus on circular economy in cities and the transition, including a link to a website, the Circular Cities Funding Guide, which focus on that particular topic. So very good to be here and look forward to interact with you later on. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jonas. Ellen MacArthur Foundation, Ashima, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sarah's going to introduce the organization.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Hi everyone, Sarah here from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. I'm the cities lead at the foundation. I guess most of you will know that EMF develops works to develop and promote the idea of the circular economy around the world. We work with and inspire business, academia, policymakers, and institutions to mobilize systems solutions at scale for the circular economy. Within kind of the cities program at the foundation, we work in Europe, North America, Latin America, and China. And the program is focused on creating content for city-based policymakers. So you'll see the framework that Ikli referenced earlier in the presentation, which we released in the first quarter of last year. And we work with a small group of cities in London, Brussels, Milan, Porto, Umea, and London, with quite an intense way to help them to mobilize demonstration projects and to support city-based policymaking for the circular economy in those cities.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Sarah. Kate, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Simon. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate from Metabolic. Metabolic's based in Amsterdam, and we work with governments, businesses, and nonprofits around the world on primarily research and then action strategies for circular systems, importantly as part of this cities as one of the leverage points. We do so using a holistic systems thinking approach, and then as well as you can gather from our name, a metabolic approach. So using data to look at how resources flow through systems and how communities interact with those resources.
Great, thanks very much, Kate. Metabolism of Cities, Aristide, I think you will make the presentation.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Simon. We are Metabolism of Cities, so we are a small nonprofit based in Brussels, and as our name suggests, we really work on creating and sharing urban metabolism knowledge, so urban resource use and waste flows generation, as well as creating free and open source tools to apply all of this knowledge in policy and practice. So we have many tools such as circular economy dashboards, online courses, material matchmaking platforms, etc., which might be useful in the next meetings. But most importantly, we work also with Simon on measuring the circularity at the sector and city level for 7 European cities as part of a H2020 project called City Loops.
Great, thank you, Aristide. UNEP, Elsa, do we have you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Elsa Lefebvre, and I'm working for UN Environment Cities Unit. And we have a long-standing relationship and collaboration with ICLE and some other partners around this virtual table on circular economy, jobs, public procurement. And we're really glad to be part of the support partners of this declaration.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Elsa. And finally, WeCycle. Igor, are you with us still?
Yes, of course. Good day to everybody. I come from WeCycle Institute for Circular Economy from Maribor, Slovenia. We already developed strategy for transition to circular economy for our city and are actively involved in several European projects and collaborations. We were also with some other supporting partners and cities already working in the Urban Agenda Partnership for Circular Economy, and we will continue to work on circular economy in the future.
Great, thanks, Igor. Now, before we move on, I'll try and go back to Natalia from Eurocities. Have you got your microphone working, Natalia?
Can you hear me?
We can,
Hello.
Perfect, yes, very good.
Okay, great. Good morning all, my name is Natalia Altman. I'm a project officer at Eurocities and I'm working for the Green City Accord project, a new DG Environment initiative in consortium with ICLE and CMR to make cities cleaner and healthier. For those who don't know, Eurocities is the network of major European cities. We have more or less over around 200 cities, and we do advocacy, capacity building, facilitate best practices exchange, among others. Eurocities joined the Circular Declaration in July 2020, and we help disseminating the declaration among our members. Thanks a lot, and I look forward to the discussion.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Natalia, and thank you to all of you. As you can see, there is a huge breadth of experience and knowledge and outreach amongst the support partners that we have. You can find more information about each of those also on the Circular Cities Declaration website, which includes links to where you can find even further information and contact details as well. Okay, so now I would like to pass across to a series of presentations that we've lined up for you this afternoon. Good practice from around the group of cities which have signed up already. The first of those will be from the city of Prato in Italy, where we have the Deputy Mayor, Valerio Barbaris, who will be giving us a presentation. Mr. Barbaris, I don't know whether you have a presentation that you would like to share with us via the screen directly?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So over to you.
Thank you very much for this event, this webinar. It's very interesting and it's very, and we hope that it will be very important for the city to be there. As Deputy Mayor on Circular Economy, I'm the first, I think, in Italy to have this appointed as Deputy Mayor on Circular Economy in Italy. And actually, our experience on the theme of circular economy came from the participation on the circular economy partnership in the framework of the urban agenda for the EU, where the city of Prato was coordinating the Italian participation to this partnership. Just a brief presentation of the city. Prato is a city of around 200,000 inhabitants. It hosts 132 different ethnical groups, making it one of the strongest and heaviest city in Italy in terms of percentage of foreigners citizens. It's the third city of central Italy after Rome and Florence in terms of inhabitants. And it's a kind of small metropolis with the large textile district in Europe, the largest textile district in Europe, with long tradition on circular economy in the textile district, especially based on the tradition of reuse of wool clothes, an important ICT sectors and large university. Let's say we call it, and we have been working since 2014 in the narration of the city of contemporariness in Tuscany. I moved very fast on these two slides. So we made a urban agenda based on the SDGs and of course on the 14 priority themes of the urban agenda for the EU, where, as I told you, we decided to be in charge for the participation of Italy in the circular economy partnership, thanks to the tradition of the circular textile district, but also thanks to a long tradition of urban reuse of water, and a lot of other thematics that are linked to the city. As members of the Partnership on Circular Economy, the city coordinated 3 different groups. One on the proposal for revised water sector legislation made during the forming process for the new European legislation on reuse of water. The second, the urban circular use of spaces and buildings, so focusing on fostering a circular economy approach at urban level, and promoting, together with the Partnership on Nature-Based Solutions and Sustainable Land Use, a concept where in our cities, the existing urban fabrics should be, first of all, considered as an important and strategic asset for the cities, considering them as the starting point for a new approach where more than of urban planning, we should talk of urban management. So reusing and using cities in a better way, considering that the cities already exist, and there are a lot of spaces and buildings that are unused or underused that should be reconsidered and reused from the point of view of a new governance model. And then the city of Prato coordinated the toolkit and the group of work working on the pay-as-you-throw system. Then, of course, the city of Prato was also in charge of all the groups where there was the themes on industrial symbiosis, especially for the Italian and the textile district of the city of Prato. So thanks to this experience, the city of Prato has achieved a lot of competencies and acquire a consciousness of the role of the city should and could have at European level within the framework and the context of European circular cities. So this is why the city started in 2019 the program Prato Circular City, that is exactly the transition from the model, governance model, and the approach and the way the Partnership on Circular Economy within the urban agenda of the EU worked. And so fostering the circular transition of the city at urban level on the textile and clothes district of the city, fostering urban circular consumption, strategies of urban circular consumption, urban resource management, and a new vision where urban agriculture and food policies should be put together to sustain and to promote new way to use urban agriculture and peri-urban agriculture. At the same time, the city is working since 2018 in a festival of the Tuscan region for circular economy called Reco Festival, that is considered as an instrument for dissemination on the and creating an awareness on citizens and stakeholders on the importance of the transition of circular economy. Next to the strategy on circular economy, the city, since 2014, directly and strongly developed a strategy on urban forestry. So considering urban forestry as a strategy for urban resiliency and also for the human health. So the city has now an action plan on urban forestry that is going on, and at the same time the city achieved and won a financing on the UIA program on nature-based solutions and sustainable land use with the project Prato Urban Jungle. That is a new approach fostering nature and the use of nature-based solutions within the existing urban built and dense context. So I finish showing you two experiences, very briefly, two experiences that are trying to put together circular economy strategies at urban level and also urban forestry strategies. This is a project the city is working on for the creation of a big new urban park called Parco Centrale that is in the center of the city. And it comes out from the demolition and the dismantle of the old hospital. This is an experience that is promoted and analyzed by a Urbat program, because this is a building, a huge building of 40,000 square meters that is dismantled, and with strategies of circular economy, 95% of materials are reused within the built-in sector, and it is going to become a new park within the city center that has been the occasion for a very important architectural competition at international level won by Michel Devine, architect. And finally, a program of urban regeneration within one of the very dense place of the city, the so-called Macrolotto Zero area, working in the framework of the concept of reusing a district, an old industrial district of around 70 hectares within a strategy of reusing existing buildings within a strategy of adaptive reuse, creating with small demolitions new small pocket gardens for the strategy of urban forestry. So trying to develop again a strategy where circular economy strategies and urban forestry strategies are put together. So thank you, and I'm curious to see all the others' presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that very inspiring presentation. It was amazing to see such a variety of activities that are taking place within Prato. And also very good to hear about the importance which you place on engagement at the national and European level as well. So we're extremely grateful for that here. I think we'll have to move on as we're running out of time a little bit. Yeah, we're getting some comments in the chat about how impressive the approach is, but unfortunately we're going to have to move on to the next presentation. I would say that before we pass on, we are keeping a common contacts file for all the signatories of the declaration, including Prato. So if there are direct questions that each of you have to the individual presentations that we're making, you will also be able to get in touch directly, and if not through us as well, we can put you in touch. Because there was obviously a lot of information, a lot of detail presented there that would be good to find out more about. But thank you very much once again. Let's move on to our second presentation. This time from Ljubljana. And we have Zala Stroyin, who's with us, who is the Circular Economy Manager of the city.
Thank you very much. So my name is Zala, and I'm the Circular Economy Manager for the city of Ljubljana, and I will try to present our current activities, but let's wait for the slides. So the next one, please. Okay, yes. So for the ones who didn't have the pleasure to come to Ljubljana, this is a picture out of the air onto the city, and you can see that Ljubljana is really a very green city. We have, landscape parks practically directly or in the center of the city. We have a lot of nature protection areas. So the next slide, please. It is no wonder that sustainable development was declared as one of the 3 strategical development goals in the Vision Ljubljana 2025, which was prepared in 2007, before we have even spoken about the circular economy. But based on this vision, or the goal of this vision was to become or provide the best service for our citizens, and also to improve the quality of living. And based on this vision, or one of the success factors of this vision was also that Ljubljana has won this prestigious title of European Green Capital 2016. Next slide, please. So even while we were living the title European Green Capital, we were, discussing how can we be even better. And of course, we have decided to work more on circular economy. And this is a very simple scheme of our transition to circular economy. And it is based on communication, because we think that if we are not communicating, if we are not exchanging the ideas, the data, then, we don't know what is happening in our city, and we have to know, and we have to make a better, and we can make better decisions if we communicate more. But of course, we have to include the citizens, all the stakeholders, to participate in order, to achieve and to really be circular. And our activities are today focusing on 3 pillars. The first one is circular decision making and being the best, actually, role model for the citizens and all stakeholders, which is what I will be talking about in my presentation today. The second pillar is assembling value chains. As I have already said, we have to include all the citizens, all stakeholders, so in order to close the circle. And the third pillar is based on what we are actually doing now. It's on knowledge exchange and experience exchange. But all these 3 pillars really have to be connected, interlinked with innovations, new circular business models, because we have to change how we are behaving today. So next slide, please. Going to the role model. In 2020, a lot of our strategies will come to an end. So we said, okay, this is now a good moment to include the young people of Ljubljana into all the processes, because they will be the one who will leave the city into 2030, 2040, 2050. So we have prepared a questionnaire for them and asked them what the city administration should focus more in the future. And 4 priority areas came up. The public transport, which is kind of logical because young people usually don't have the cars. Educational system. The young people have expressed their concerns, or they have suggested to make it more innovative, more experimental. They want to test different solutions and so on. And they have also said that they really would like to eat and grow local and ecological food. And they have also mentioned sustainable shopping in a way that they are ready to use reuse models, to repurpose, to do-it-yourself culture, and so on. So the next slide, please. But on the other hand, as the decision makers, we also wanted to know what the status or what is what our employees are thinking on the topic. So this year we have prepared a questionnaire for city administration employees on sustainability and circular economy. And what was interesting that 50% of all employees have opened the questionnaire, but only 25% of all employees filled in the questionnaire. So this was a little bit strange. But out of this 25%, 75% of employees thought that sustainable development and circular economy are important development, but only 40% of employees have heard of circular economy. They have already heard of circular economy, but were not familiar in details what it means. So based on these results, we have decided that it is of vital importance to come up with a very simple, basic definition of what the circular economy is. Next slide, please. So we thought that if we decision makers will start to live really circular solutions, then we will also start making circular solutions for all of us. So what we have now practically finished is a green decision code for city administration employees, where it's actually a very short document. It will be signed by the mayor. It's actually a 2-pager. And in this green decision code, we are introducing 10 principles of circular economy. And the goal of this code is to make our colleagues, our city employees, to really understand that whatever decision we take, it will make an impact, whether on environment or society, and that we have to continue to act transparently in order to know who is doing what and why it is doing it, that we really have to strengthen the cooperation between the departments and different offices. Maybe the next one is related to the general situation nowadays about health, and we would really like our colleagues to make or use digital instead of physical solutions in their work processes. We believe that we have to do more on introducing innovations and new circular business models in our day-to-day decision making. We have to be aware that natural resources are limited. We have to take care, or when we are procuring, paying attention whether we can use reused items, or we can repair something, or we can repurpose something. And we really have to be more in line or work very closely to our local environment, because in general, the amount of waste is increasing in the city. We really have to pay more attention and take more activities into reducing the amount of waste. And of course, biodiversity, which is also related to my first slide, because we are a very green area and we have a lot of endangered species, animal and plant species. So the next slide, please. So, but this code will be a 2-pager and will not provide the public employees with enough data on making the circular decisions. So that's why we are also finishing up the guidebook on sustainable and circular everyday decisions, which will include our very general and simple definition what circular economy is, so that every employee, the city employee, will be aware what and will know what the circular economy is. We have included also the explanation of these 10 principles that I have stated. We will also include the interesting facts about these principles, step-by-step introduction or possibilities what every citizen servant can do. We are explaining or naming also already existing good practices of the city, and we are also now debating on performance indicators. So how we will measure whether we are really taking sustainable or circular solutions. Next slide, please. What I have mentioned are some words on the paper, but we really want to make people or our public employees to live the solutions, good practices. So what we are doing, we started to organize circular challenges for the city administration employees. This was the topic of the first challenge. We have invited public administration employees to cycle as much as possible to and from work. And 45 employees took the challenge and have cycled more than 8,000 kilometers in less than 2 months, which may not seem a lot, but it is more than Tour de France and Spanish Vuelta together. And the next slide, please. And this is now the second challenge that we are introducing into the city administration locations. It is so-called exchange markets, which are intended for employees only. And on these shelves, the employees can bring still useful items like books, DVDs, textiles, different objects. And some other colleagues can take them and continue to use them. So we have currently set up 2 exchange markets, and 2 are to follow. So the purpose is to really engage the decision makers into different good practices in order that they will lead these solutions and also use them when they are making their solutions. So next slide, please. Okay, so the last activity that is just starting is also that we are preparing a strategic document to Ghana Circular City 2035. We are just starting with the workshops, and in half a year and 6 months time, I'm sure that we will finish the process. It will be a long process because we want to include all decision makers into participating in setting up this document. So we'll see how it will progress. But in this document, we will focus probably on different mass flows in the city, and we'll see what will happen. So thank you for your attention.
Wonderful, Zala. Thank you very much. Really interesting to hear how you are engaging in these participatory processes involving both internal and external stakeholders in what you're doing there. And we look forward very much to seeing what the outcomes of that process will be. And I think that certainly would be a likely topic for a future webinar we have as well. I'm afraid we don't have time for further questions here. We're running a little bit behind schedule, so I'll have to ask the next speakers also to be as quick as they can and as concise as possible. But thank you, Zala. And a reminder also that we have information on each of the city signatories on the Circular Cities Declaration website as well. You'll find information about each city together with links to find out more as well. Okay, so let's pass across to our third presentation from the city of Umeå in Sweden. And we have Liv Öberg, project manager for circular economy, to present. Liv, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Simon, and thank you so much for inviting me. Good afternoon, everybody. As Simon said, my name is Liv Öberg, and I work as project manager for circular economy in the city of Umeå. Next slide, please. Yeah, and just to give you a short presentation of where we are, this is where Umeå is situated. A great day with a lot of snow. Unfortunately, we do not have snow today, and that is also one of the reasons I think that many of us here are engaged to fight climate change and really want to have a circular transition because we want to keep snow in the winters. We are the largest city in the northern Sweden, young population, 2 universities, and so on. We can take the next slide. And during 2019 and the beginning of 2020, Umeå was part of a OECD program called Circular Economy in Cities and Region. It was Umeå, Valladolid in Spain, Groningen in the Netherlands, and The OECD team, they visited these cities, and representatives from the cities and as well as Amsterdam and Paris met with 120 stakeholders, and then they analyzed where we are in the circular economy in Umeå. You can take the next one, please. And this is what they saw, a snapshot. Then we only had 127,000 inhabitants. Now it's 130. But we are growing, and we were, or we are at least, one of the fastest growing cities in Europe. We have a highly educated population. We also have a lot of startups and incubators, strong engagement from the population in sustainability. Also strong engagement for gender equality. We've worked the longest in Sweden. Also strong engagement towards poverty and children growing up in poverty. Next one, please. They also saw this, our challenges and also opportunities. They saw a city that was engaged but was a bit fragmented. It was unclear how we worked with our actions or followed our actions. It was a lack of understanding of circular economy, lack of specific capacities. It was some skepticism from some of the stakeholders. Some didn't understand why circular economy. We're working with to fight climate change, or we are working with sustainability. And next one, please. These challenges and the analysis, they gave us 18 recommendations, the OECD team. You see divided into promoter, facilitator, and enabler. And this is, I would say, these recommendations, together with, of course, the European Circular Cities Declaration, this is the framework for Umeå for us to work with circular economy and for our transition. And one of the recommendations was to hire a coordinator, and that is me. Very happy about that. We can move on to the next one, please. So out of these 18, right now we are mapping circular initiatives, and that should be, we should have the result in the beginning of February. And that will be really interesting, especially for me, who will, who's working specifically on circular economy. That mapping will give me an answer on where in the city or which sectors of the business life, where is there a strong engagement for circular economy? Are there troubles? Who are these people? I'm sure I know many of them, and I know many of the initiatives, but I'm sure I don't know all about them. Second, we are developing methods for circular procurement, and right now we are starting a test period. It's me and a colleague. We will start testing circular tools on 2 procurements starting now. It's procurement that is going on next year, and this will be a test time, and then we'll see how we can develop our work to include all procurement on circularity. We're also collaborating with CBANS. Oh, that is a spelling mistake there. I'm sorry. That's a Circular Economy Business Accelerator in North Sweden. There's a network of business accelerators and incubators who are engaged to transform companies or business plans into circular ones. And we are also supporting a local initiative from our 3 companies who wants to create a circular shopping mall. That is the newest one. It's a really exciting one. And our politicians, they decided for us to develop a strategy for circular economy. And this work will start next year. And this all together, of course, will foster capacity building in circular economy and also promote circular economy culture. So out of these 18 recommendations, we are now, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at least of those we are working on. And I think that is it from me. I think if we move on to the next slide, it's thank you from me. And thank you again for inviting me and for this show and all the other speakers. I've already taken a lot of notes. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Liv. And thanks for being so concise. And it's we're of course very grateful they followed the recommendations to bring you in to the city administration, certainly. But it's also very good to see how concrete those actions have now been following that report that came out, and really some interesting initiatives that you're carrying out there. I think we'd all be very interested to hear more about what the circular shopping mall entails.
Yeah, yes. It's so exciting.
And the topic of circular procurement is one that comes up.
Yeah,
repeatedly.
definitely.
And certainly an area where I think there's a lot we can learn from each other on that. So wonderful. Thanks very much, Liv.
Thank you.
So now let's pass on to our final good practice presentation. We have the city of Copenhagen with us. We have Katrina Overgaard Warberg, who's the head of the program for Circular Copenhagen, if I've got that exactly correct. So Katrina, over to you.
Thank you. And it was completely correct. So thank you so much. And I'll try to see what I can do to speed this up a bit. So I'll tell you where we're at. 3 years ago, we wrote this little darling called Circular Copenhagen, containing 28 specific projects of how we are going to actually implement circular economy in Copenhagen. At that time, we didn't have that many ways of measure the circular economy that was within our scope, at least. But we settled on 3 primary targets. So it's the recycling rate should go up to 70%. We need to triple our reuse within the city. And then we are aiming at that CO2 neutral Copenhagen. And this was a 6-year plan. So we have to be done by 2024. And we're 2 years in now. So we are working on the implementation part, which is going very well some places and a bit more challenged in other areas. And of course, this is what we have already then adopted. And of course, we are working more and more on what are new targets, what are new ways of working. But let's get into it. I'll show you some of the examples of what we are implementing as we speak. So next slide, please. And this is just to show you a little bit about the ambitions. So it looks what was implemented on the previous plans. And it looks quite straightforward and a little bit linear, and that it is target-wise, but it becomes more and more difficult. So we are really at our edge here, and we really need innovation to actually achieve these goals. So that is also why I'm grateful for this community, that we can actually share some practices and improve ourselves. So next slide. So first of all, we're gonna get even more source separation. We're gonna have 10 different waste streams at each household in 2024 that will be implemented. And then we are looking into really what needs to be present for the citizens to actually achieve these 70%. So we are experimenting with how to collect it in the city. How can these be both benches, as you see, how can these be incorporated into being a livable city, and at the same time actually be waste management. And we are looking into how can we motivate the citizens, how can we, for example, give them feedback on telling them on an individual level, right now you are here and here, you have only source separated 60% of your household waste. This is what you need to do to go to 70. Yeah, so we have all these different initiatives within actually behavioral change. And I normally say that we are trying to get rid of all the German grammar. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone, but in Denmark, German grammar is really difficult. There's so many rules, and then there's so many exceptions from all the rules. And we don't need that in our waste system. We need to get away with all these exceptions from the rules and not too many rules. It has to be intuitive. So the waste system is based on how you act as a person, as a human being, and not based on the technologies we have present today. Technologies can change and develop even further, then it's more difficult to change people. Next slide, please. So we are looking into how we could develop these existing collecting systems and what also should be in the future. For example, we are right now looking into diapers, how to actually do that city-wise, collect the diapers and recycle them. We are looking into how can the waste bins be self-driving, so we don't need all those big trucks around. How can it be a more smooth system? And I know this we got inspired by other cities. So it's very interesting to actually see how we can get input from the outside that we can implement in our city. And then we are looking very much into take-back systems, for example, for clothing and for how we can support the companies within the city that wants to have these take-back systems. Of course, that somehow interfere with our system, but how can we rearrange ours? So the recycling stations, for example, which are very big and has a lot of area in the city, a lot of space, how can that space be used differently to also support the businesses that want to take back their products? And next slide. Then we will build, these are prototypes, but we will build even more swap stations around the city. We will build swap stations on the schools, and all the children within the city will be educated in circular economy, how to repair, how to swap, how to actually sort your waste. We are building smaller recycling stations that are more local. So it's recycling stations where you only come by foot or by bike, no cars. So they're really small and local, and they have different events all the time to invite people in to engage in the agenda, and inviting in all the different small communities that is popping up all around, both small startup companies, but also all these repair cafes and so on, invite them in and actually help them be in the city and facilitate their work. Instead of we have to invent everything, then we are just facilitating what is already happening and supporting that. Next slide. Then we're looking into new technology solutions for the waste management. We are doing a huge work with our plastic. We have this test facility where we work very closely to some of, for example, some of the meat producers. So when they are selling their food in their shop, we are at the moment actually sorting out from the waste stream their specific trays for the food, so they get their trays back. And in this test facility, we work very closely with more and more big companies, so their product can be redesigned in a way so it can actually be handled in a smart way within the waste system. Then we're looking into the bio or food waste and saying how can we use this differently, so it's not only gas and we bring it out to the fields and we get a nutrition soil, but can we also use it even before we do so? Can we get all the enzymes? How can we do this? We work with universities to look at this. Yeah, next slide. And even though all of this is a way of increase and support the circular economy, we also have a project around our buildings, where it's a Horizon 2020 project, where we're going to test out all the different strategies for building in a circular way, with the focus on not only getting more knowledge about how to do it, but also how can we then actually ask for it in our system? How do we, in the procurement phase, do it in the right way? How do we financially, is there something that needs to be changed so we can actually ask for these kind of buildings in the future? And then we have this, we call it the Innovation Hub for Circular Copenhagen, where we all the time invite and ask for companies or collaborators to join us in solving these issues that we have. The latest one was Novo Nordisk, that have this insulin pens that they wanted to take back, and they asked us, how can you help us do this so people don't throw them out, but actually then are taking them back through the the pharmacy, where we go in and help them because we are controlling the waste, and we are giving all the acceptance for the pharmacies to collect different kind of waste. So we made a collaboration there. Yeah. Next slide. That was just a thank you. I speeded this up a little bit, so I think I saved us 2.5 minutes almost, maybe 1.5.
That's perfect. Thank you very much, Katrina. And I think the analogy that you've made between implementing circular economy and studying German grammar is really one I can very much support. I'm glad to hear someone else has as much difficulty with this. But no, that really interesting presentation. I think there was several comments also about the human-centered approach that's being taken in Copenhagen, and recognition that, of course, yes, we are talking about behavioral change here, something that's very difficult for us to work with, and the need to engage communities. And so these smaller scale community activities that you're carrying out, of course, are very interesting to follow for all of us, and also ways in which we can collect innovation from other stakeholders within our regions and the mechanisms for doing that. So thank you very much for that presentation. Yeah, there's several comments coming in the chat, congratulating the speakers on the comprehensiveness, the holistic nature of their activities. A lot of interest in the topic of circular procurement, a lead to the ProCirc project, which is looking specifically at that. Jonas from the EIB is also pointing us towards an example of a circular shopping mall that exists already in one of our other signatory cities that we don't have a presentation from today, but hopefully will in the future, which is Eskilstuna. And he's presented a link to that as well. So there's really some very interesting examples. And of course, we're really just scratching the surface of some of these, but hopefully there'll be much more to come. Okay. So at this stage, I would then like to pass on to another presentation, and I'm very pleased to say that we have Håkan Jentoft from the City of Oslo, who is the chair of the Urban Agenda Partnership on Circular Economy, to give us a short update on what's been happening within the partnership. So Håkan, if you are still with us.
I am still with you. Thank you for inviting me, Simon, and good afternoon to everybody. I will try to speed up a little bit since I can see from my watch that I'm 2 minutes after my presentation should have finished. So, but I will try to give you a short update on the partnership. Luckily, in the meeting today, there are several of the partners present. I will not go through all the partners, but go on for what we have achieved during the 3-4 years work of the partnership. Next slide, please. We decided after a long discussion to end up in 12 different actions. We had, I think, more than 50-60 identified barriers on local level that we wanted to focus on, but to be able to do a good job on some of them, we ended up in 12 different actions. But just to mention 2 of them that has not been working on, was on circular public procurement, which we transferred to the partnership on public procurement. And another one that Valerio mentioned was the industrial symbiosis. That was one of the actions that we didn't go on with, but during our process we could clearly see that was one of them that we should have focused on. But we ended up with 3 on better regulation, 2 on better funding, and 7 on better knowledge. And all of them were identified by barriers on the local level. And I will encourage also our work now in the city declaration, circular economy city declaration, also to focus on the barriers that we identified in our work in the cities, and try to identify who could be helping us to solve those barriers. Because I think that's very important part of what we are doing together, is not only to have knowledge share, but also to change how we try to solve the barriers that we identify, because there will be a lot of barriers in our work. Okay, next slide, please. One of the things that we identified very early in our work from a lot of stakeholders, both within the partnership but also outside the partnership, is that if you define anything as waste, is like some sort of shelter going down around it. So people said, don't define anything as waste, because then we have a lot of problem. Valerio mentioned the urban better management of urban wastewater, and it's the same. In fact, there, if something is defined as wastewater, there's a lot of regulation to hinder that there is any effect on human health or human environment. But the focus on the risk part of it makes it very difficult to take part to help us to have a better resource management of both waste and wastewater. So we need some sort of change from waste management to resource management, both on local level in cities, on national level, but of course also on EU level. I'll come back to that later on as well. Next, please. Yeah, here it is. Sorry. So we try to identify and show how we should change that way of working on the policy framework, and set out that we need some sort of value-orientated legal and policy framework rather than the risk-based. So in those two figures, you can see that on the red one, this is the situation today, which is very much risk-based, and it's very difficult to get waste back again into the loop. As we heard from Copenhagen now, focusing on source separation, better ways of waste management, you also need to get the waste and the resources and waste back into back to the industry, and you need a better highways, both legal and technical, to do that. So on the green side, you can see that we try to say that we need better regulations and better framework to bring the resources back, but we definitely need a shift up to the product legislation to see how we can take care of the resources within the product in the design and the production phase, and also the consumption phase. And this was exactly what the EU Commission launched in the Green Deal and in the Circular Economy Action Plan 2.0. So I think that we working from a city perspective met the Commission in their thinking of the EU perspective, but we as cities need to promote that and encourage that work. Please go on. Next. Jonas from the European Investment Bank mentioned the Circular City Funding Guide in his short presentation, and that was by the initiative and the cooperation between the partnership and the European Investment Bank. And if you are a funder or you are seeking funding, or you need help or inspiration, please look up the Circular City Funding Guide. And I think for all my my slides here, if you click on the different illustrations and so on, you can go directly to find more. For instance, here for the Circular City Funding Guide. Great job done by the European Investment Bank on that. So please look up on all the information available. Next, please. Then we have 7 different actions on better knowledge. And for most of them, it started by identifying that we need more knowledge, or we need to help cities to do a better work. But from several of them, we also ended up that this is something linked to the legal framework. For instance, a circular business management roadmap for better resource management is actually, instead of waste management, we need resource management. We need to go into the metabolism mentioned earlier. The Circular City portal is also that we need strategies for cities on circular economy. We need to develop the procurement strategies, the waste management strategies, and all of the different strategies that we have into more holistic plan and how to work on circular economy, and that you can find inspiration for in the Circular City portal. Pay as you throw theme was mentioned by Valerio as well. This is a perfect guidebook if you want to look into how you use your economic instrument in the city for the waste management fees, but it is also the first link into the digitalization of the future, because that data that you collect by introducing pay as you throw will be very valuable for the next generation of developing the link between the waste management system and the production and consumption system. Reuse of buildings and spaces, Valerio mentioned that as well. Planning is one of the most important instruments that we have in cities to develop our cities into a circular economy and a circular economy transition. So I haven't been heard that from the city examples so far, but the planning instrument is very, very important, both for the building construction sector, but also how to use the public spaces, how to use the city to develop it into a shift into the transition for circular economy. Urban resource centers, it was mentioned by Copenhagen. The next generation of recycling station is not only for waste management, but it's also for reuse, repair, and so on. And luckily, this has been followed up by an urban project, which is going on at the moment. And now I have to look into the presentation to see what is standing here. Yeah, the collaborative economy. We have developed a toolkit for cities to look into the collaborative economy. This is not 100% full finished, so we will come back to that for a more how that can be used, for instance, by you in this cooperation in the declaration. And the last one is indicators. We are all struggling to how to find indicators. We identified several hundred indicators and brought it down to some 30 indicators that could be used by cities in monitoring the transition towards a circular economy. And I think this is all. This next one. The next slide, please. But I think that was the last one. So
that was the last.
Yes. So if you click on the illustrations here, when you get the PDF of my presentation, you can go directly to the Futurium webpage on the Commission webpage for the urban agenda, and you can have a closer look into what we have been doing. Thank you.
That's perfect. Thank you very much, Håkon. And I mean, this demonstrates the breadth of information there already is for us all to draw on. And of course, the outputs of the Urban Agenda Partnership are crucial to guiding the work that we will be doing within this declaration as well. A number of links have been put in the chat. And as mentioned, we will share all of these presentations so all of you can go directly to the information as it has been presented now. Okay, now we are a little bit behind schedule, unfortunately, 10 minutes, but I would still very much like us to break out into smaller groups so everyone has a little bit of a chance to at least raise their voice, because what's of most importance for us is to identify what are the topics that really are of interest to all of you. We've had a huge number of topics presented in these different presentations, enough for a webinar series for probably the next 2 years, one per week. But we would, of course, like to hear directly from each of you guys on what you consider to be the most relevant topics, the most relevant sectors potentially to discuss in future webinars. So what we're now going to do is split up into separate breakout rooms. The way we're going to have to do this is manually. So me and my colleagues, we will be assigning each of you 2 breakout rooms where that will be the main discussion point. Those of you who have indicated N in your name, the non-signatories, will be moved to a specific breakout room to discuss the declaration itself. Everybody else will be going to a breakout room which will be hosted by one of the support partners of the declaration. So if you all bear with me now, we will try to manually move you to these breakout rooms and hope that this works. So we will then all come back together at about 15:45, maybe a couple of minutes later than that, before we finalize, before we finish. Okay, so I will now try and move everybody to their sessions. Everybody is now back with us in the room, and apologies for how short that was. And I think also in one case there may not have been a facilitator who was allocated initially, so I hope you still managed to find interesting things to talk about in any case, and I'm fairly sure that you did. Now we've already run beyond time for the webinar, I'm afraid, so we don't really have a lot of time for a catch-up round of interesting ideas for future topics, but each of the hosts will, of course, update me on that, so we can determine what will be the topic for the next and the future series of webinars. And of course, please also do send your ideas and suggestions to me as well. I hope very much that the session today has been of interest to everybody. I hope those who have already signed have appreciated the community of people that we have here to exchange with. I hope those who have not yet signed will now see the value in doing so, and hopefully we can have some new signatures in the next few weeks and months as well. A reminder that you will find more information about what each of the cities are doing, the support partners are doing on our website. And as mentioned, we are keeping a collective contacts list so everybody could get individually in touch with each other as well. So it just remains for me to say thank you once again to everybody for attending today's session. Thank you all for your presentations and your contributions. And I look forward very much to speaking to you all in the future. So thank you very much and good afternoon, everyone.